welcome to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. Today we're going to get right into the weekly reading for the sign of Cancer. This is going to be for February 8th to the 14th. And before we do that, let me just remind you I'm giving away the Love Oracle card deck from the Island Time Wellness. Etsy company, sole proprietor, artist or creator, what have you, who's put these cards out. And I'll be giving that away for Valentine's Day. So please do check my channel on Valentine's Day to see the winner video and see if you are the one who won the cards. All you have to do is be a subscriber and make a comment letting me know that you are interested in the deck. All right, guys? But for right now, let's get right into February 8th to the 14th for the sign of Cancer. We're going to pull out 3 of those Love Oracle cards for you for this week. And one thing I love about this deck is that, yes, it is an oracle deck about love and relationships, but a lot of the messages, a lot of the oracle messages in the deck can really relate to a single person as well. It doesn't have to be necessarily someone who's in a love connection. Sometimes it can relate to friendships, right? So it's quite versatile. So let's get right into it. Your first message is ascending. So here we have it. Here's a perfect example. We're talking about transcending obstacles. Certainly, if we're doing specifically only a love reading, this would be definitely transcending obstacles in love. Maybe entering into a new phase in love, right? We have heart with the key. Just second oracle message for the week. So welcoming love in, right? Giving somebody access to your heart, right? The one that you open your heart for. So this is not just your run-of-the-mill kind of connection, date, what have you. This is somebody, and it implies, Cancer, that your heart otherwise is sealed, is locked. And so you don't give your heart freely away to just anyone anyway, right? Beautiful, beautiful message. And then we have not today. Not dealing with the pain, not dealing with hurt, not today, not answering, avoiding the conversation, perhaps even, just not dealing. All right, let's get your animal spirits out. Now, animal spirits can be energies becoming available to you. They can also represent sort of individuals that you might be dealing with, right? So let's just see what kind of animal spirits is Cancer dealing with this week. All right, straight out we have the tarantula. Fire energy associated with the crossroads in life. Then we have dragonfly. Air energy associated with the mind. This is the Lord of Light and Illusion. It's represented by the dragonfly. And the cobra. Wow. Cobra. Talking about being the student, right? Being ready and open, being willing to learn, calling in the teacher, right? So, let's get right into it. The tarantula is a fire element animal spirit, and the tarantula is associated with the crossroads, right? Whenever we have a crossroads in our lives or a decision to make about which path we will go down, it can also be just a decision or situation in our lives where the next sort of action that we take can impact the next foreseeable future, right? So the spirit of the tarantula reminds us to stay calm, stand still, right? Wait a moment, and really sort of be ready so that when you make your next move, you make the move that's best for you. Being very focused, right? Very careful, weighing all the options, right, before you make your decision, especially because the next decision you make is going to really impact you. Now, the dragonfly is, the spirit of the dragonfly is associated with the Lord of Light and Illusion, the Lord of the Mind, air energy. And really, it reminds us that the mind is fluid. The mind is very, very fluid, and it is extremely subjective. What we believe that we see, is our, what we believe to be the truth based on what we see or the information that we take into our mind is only our truth. It's not an ultimate truth. It's not, it's not a definitive truth. It is a truth, and it is only our truth. And so sometimes it's good for us to remember that just as the mind can be very fluid and can be full of clarity and sort of focus, the mind can also be sort of very elusive. And what we believe to be the scenario in a situation may not at all be what it is, So sometimes we have to really take what we see and feel and hear and the information that we're taking it in. Sometimes we have to take it with a grain of salt, or sometimes we have to at least remain grounded, so that we don't begin thinking that everything we see is reality, right? Sometimes, you can literally be seeing things or interpreting things in ways that have nothing to do with reality. And so the dragonfly reminds us to be very careful. Be careful when we are putting so much emphasis only on our sort of viewpoint, right? And remembering that we may not quite have 100% of all of the information, or we certainly may not be seeing it from everybody's points of view. We may only certainly be seeing what's going on from our own personal point of view. Now the Cobra, interesting card. The Cobra is more fire energy, and it really reminds us of sort of the student within, right? The Cobra, the spirit of the Cobra brings teachers to us when we are ready to learn. It's kind of, and it reminds me of a connection to our higher selves, because the Cobra is always watching, right? The spirit of the Cobra is an essence of always being watchful and being ready and waiting for the student to appear so that the teacher can be called in. This is our soul oftentimes. It's associated with our higher spirit, right? Watching us, kind of watching us in a way. We're tethered to our spirit, but yet, there is a separation there to a certain degree. And our higher selves are watching us. And when we're ready to learn, when we're ready to accept a teacher into our hearts or into our lives, or a teaching, right? It's brought to us, right? Our spirit, our energy, the universe brings it to us because we are ready. So the Cobra really talks about being ready to learn, being receptive, humbling yourself in the face of understanding that there is something to learn in the first place. It's that kind of thing of knowing that, the more you learn, the more you know you don't know, right? You know what I mean? It's that feeling. It's like information and experience is infinite, and it just gets more. The more we get into it, the more we know that we have to learn. And so the Cobra is that spirit of sort of, it's almost a hesitance, not even a hesitancy, it's like a waiting, it's a kind of like, just waiting for the right time. And as soon as you're really truly ready, the answer or the teaching or the teacher will come in for you. This can also remind me sometimes of, for instance, when you're ready, if you have an addiction, you're dealing with any kind of addictions and you are truly ready to give up that addiction, or you're truly ready to accept the help that you need to give up, let's say an addiction or a codependency or some kind of issue, truly being ready for that help and receptive for it, that's the spirit of the Cobra. That's the spirit of the Cobra coming into our lives, and that readiness brings in everything that we need to get to the next stage. All right, guys? All right, so let's get right into your spread for the week. We're going to pull out 3 card spreads for you, just to see where you may be at. All right, Cancer. Now, these spreads are intended to be separate from each other, so you may only resonate with one of them. Hierophant, there you go. Tower moment, wow. And Temperance. 3 major arcana in a row. Some of you are absolutely resonating with Tarantula and Cobra. The teacher is coming in. The Hierophant, it's a doubling down. It's a doubling down of commitment, right? A commitment that we have to our higher selves, a commitment that we have to our spiritual center. The Hierophant can also represent a teacher, a spiritual, not even so much a teacher, but a spiritual guide, right? A spiritual leader or guide. He may not teach us, but he will, so he or she certainly can act as a guide in the areas of the spirit for us, right? Whatever your belief system is. And tarot has changed over the centuries. You know, the tarot deck has changed over the centuries. The Hierophant used to literally be the Pope, right? And it has changed and adapted, and it is not necessarily the Pope anymore. But however, the Hierophant does symbolize rather the highest sort of image or representative for the spirit here in our material world, here on the earth. And so whatever that spirit is for you, whatever your belief system is for you, the Hierophant would represent a representative of that belief, a representation of that belief. So it can be a person, can also sometimes be an event that comes in or an experience that comes in that acts in a way to get us to recommit to our moral code or our spiritual sort of center. It's very, very strong. Seems like a very definitive sort of experience that you're having right now, Cancer. And you're coming into the week with this energy, right? This heightened sense of commitment to your spiritual center. And you have a tower moment coming in this week. A huge tower moment. And you round your week off with Temperance, which is really sort of having a lot of control over yourself in the face of high emotions, right? Temperance energy is when we have a lot of emotions, but those emotions are not governing how we act. We govern how we act. So despite how you may be feeling, whether you're angry or sad or whatever the feeling it is you're having, you're still in control of yourself and your actions, right? And the moves that you make, right? And this is why we call it a constant sort of alchemy between water and fire. You know, water being the emotions and the fire being our actions. And so there's a constant, this is symbolized by the two cups that are constantly pouring water back and forth, right? Of course, Temperance is the card for Sagittarius, and the Hierophant is the card for Taurus. But in any case, you're coming into this week, and there is a huge sort of like moment that you're having, and it has something to do with your spiritual faith, and it may even feel like your faith is being tested because you round the week off with this Temperance energy. It could be, and like I say, very much tarantula energy and cobra energy, in the sense that you may be at a crossroads right now. An event may be coming into your life that may represent a crossroads spiritually for you, right? It could be that you're coming from one sort of ideology or theology, and suddenly you have this moment or this event that comes in, and you decide, hang on a second, this is not what I want to follow anymore. Now this is what I want. Because we change our belief systems, you know, sometimes throughout our lives. We change and adapt. In any case, this is a huge sort of spiritual week for you of a change, and you adapting to that change. Certainly a crossroads, and certainly a feeling of the cobra, in the sense that by the end of the week you may indeed be willing to be calling in teachings, calling in understanding, resonating with this feeling of being a student again, or wanting to be a student again, right? Wanting to learn more about a new path, perhaps, a new philosophy, a new way of life, right? This is all something that's really going to shake you to your core. And I think it's going to be quite a shocking. Ascending. We have ascending here. And again, like I said, the love oracle cards don't necessarily have to be about a love connection. Certainly some of you Cancers are ascending this week in terms of your beliefs. Six of Swords. Sun energy. Seven of Pentacles. Some of you are coming into this week feeling like you want to move. You may be moving physically, changing homes, or you may be changing jobs, you may be traveling. In any case, you're making, again, this feels like tarantula energy, in the sense that you're making a decision to move towards people and an environment that is in line with who you are, in line with your mentality, in line with the type of person you are. You really are seeking to have a life around you and interactions around you be much more sort of harmonious, and, you know, just to be around people that appreciate you, understand you, and that, you know, communication is not always constantly a battle. This is Six of Swords is when you've just had enough of battling, right? You decide, you know, now's the time for me to change my life so that I'm not constantly around people or things or places that agitate me or constantly have me in this sort of negative space, this power dynamic space, power struggle rather, right? And so you're in busy with that this week, whether that's intentional or it is a physical move. Cancer, some of you may physically be moving this week. And this whole week is really a feeling of clarity. You love it. The move could be, for those of you who are physically moving, it's going to be really, really nice. You might even be moving to warmer climates. You might be moving to an area or a place where you can really be yourself. And the sun is coming in to just reaffirm. So a lot of you will be having, if you're resonating with this week, you're going to be having affirmations coming in that's going to reaffirm that you made the right decision. There's going to be suddenly room for growth because the sun definitely brings opportunity for growth. You know, you may have been coming away from an environment, maybe even a family home, where there was no growth, right? Where there's no ability for you to progress, you know? And so you're like, no, forget this. I'm going out into the big bad world. I'm going to go do this. And it's like all of a sudden doors open up for you. By the end of the week, 7 of Pentacles. Now, 7 of Pentacles is a feeling of reevaluating what you do for a living or what your job is, what your career goals are, or what it is that, you know, what your objective is in a material world, right? 7 of Pentacles is sometimes associated with failure, right? A feeling of failure. Because we're not, nobody's a failure. You're only a failure if that's how you feel, right? It's not a definitive sort of, it's not a definition of a person of failure. It's a feeling. But 7 of Pentacles certainly feels very much like, you know, now that you're moving, now that you've made this intention to move, I'm going to say it's having a knock-on effect on also your decision for your career. You may be deciding that there's a whole different type of career that you want, or that the work that you've been putting in a particular path so far is not really giving you the rewards that you wanted, or it's not giving you what you had thought would make you happy. And so this is a real life change. Again, crossroads for some of you. This is a real change. And I want to say fairly drastic change and understanding about who you are, the type of lifestyle you want to have, the type of people you want to be around, and also very much the type of work that you want to do. And certainly this is going, 7 of Pentacles, you've already been working down a particular path. You already have some rewards that have come in. You've already had a payoff from your work. But the question here is it truly what you desire? You know, is it what you really wanted, right? Is the payoff what you expected? And I think that it's a real reevaluation. Some of you may completely change your careers. Judgment, the world, and the Chariot. Sometimes I call it the universe, and it's thought that it's the universe. Last spread, Judgment comes in. Some of you are coming into this week really feeling like you want to reconcile with someone. You're feeling very forgiving. You know, Judgment talks about empathy and understanding, having had certain sort of life experiences that remind you that not everything is the way you see it. Dragonfly energy, understanding that your truth is not the ultimate truth, right? And, you know, everybody else has their truth too, and everybody's human and makes mistakes, right? And so this really is the type of energy that brings in a huge amount of empathy and compassion and understanding. So you're coming into the week with this. It could very well be that a lot of times Judgment, when I talk about this card in a spread like this, it's usually a decision or a desire to reconcile with a particular person. I think more or less this is more about you letting go of judgment on yourself. I think this is a real epiphany or an understanding for you about how you relate to yourself. It could be that Cancer, you may have been carrying a lot of guilt around, right? You may have been carrying a lot of sort of pent-up negative energy because you've been very hypercritical about yourself, right? Or you may have just been really hard on yourself. You know, Judgment talks about realizing how hard we are on ourselves and giving ourselves a bit of a break, you know, realizing, you know, because forgiveness begins at home. So you're having that real understanding, right? You're really being kind to yourself, I think. You're forgiving yourself this week. And you come into the week, you have world energy. So this week feels like a very destined week. It's almost going to feel like this, Cancer. It's going to feel like the minute that you forgave yourself and let go of some of that tightness that you were holding on to, it's almost as if your whole world just unfurls and everything just suddenly starts to work in your favor. The World card talks about that. The World card is that card for sort of, serendipity, happy coincidences, right? The feeling that all of the elements and the fates are working together for your betterment, right? For your path, your ultimate destiny or fate. And in a positive way, right? Doors are opening and obstacles are just disappearing, or, paths are opening up with no obstacles in the way, right? Just this feeling of things happening the way they should. And you round your week off with Chariot energy. I think that you get a real inspiration this week about what it is you're wanting to do with your life. I think for some of you, Cancer, it could be that up until now you've been very hypercritical on yourself, and there may have been certain goals you had or goals that you saw, but that you didn't think necessarily you could have. And I think that what was standing in your way might have been this guilt, might have been the hypercriticism or the judgmentality you've been having of yourself, trying to live up to an unrealistic ideal or, an unrealistic standard. All of a sudden, this forgiveness you're giving yourself and a lot of this feeling of things working out very nicely for you this week, I think it gives you a lot of inspiration and suddenly gives you this energy of, and realization that, you can have those goals too, right? They're not forbidden to you. You can have your goals. You can go after something you desire. This is a big week for, again, tarantula energy, again, more cobra energy, and even dragonfly energy working really in a strong unison here, because Cancer, for some of you, this is a real week of, I want to say, your self-esteem increasing, your self-confidence increasing, and understanding that you are your own worst enemy. Once you forgive, or once you sort of release this high level of sort of criticism on yourself, or judgment that you have on who you should be, right? Once you release all of that, it seems almost as though suddenly you feel like there's an opportunity. By the end of the week, you feel like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. Before I didn't think I could. But now everything around me is telling me that I can. Everything around me is telling me that I'm on the right path. Maybe I can accomplish this. Maybe I can open my business. Or maybe I can go into this field even though I've always been told I'm no good at it. Or, whatever the case may be. Or I always thought I was no good at it. You know what I'm saying? In either case, by the end of the week, Chariot energy is in for you, meaning that you are well and truly focused on making a plan for your future and really sort of going after what you desire. All right, guys, this is your reading, February 8th to the 14th for Cancer. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to leave me a comment if you're interested in being in a drawing for the Love Oracle cards. Love this deck, Island Time Wellness. Just be subscribed and leave me a comment. Follow that link at the top of your screen if you want to get a private reading, or there's also, when you follow that link, you can also get a 10-minute pre-recorded tarot reading video answer to one of your questions. In either case, you follow that link, you can find out all about the readings that I offer. If you have any trouble booking, just email me. But for right now, have a wonderful, wonderful week, Cancer, and I shall see you next week for your weekly. Bye-bye now.